G'day to all my friends and family, and welcome to Jim's 5am Club. Today I'm going to go for a bushwalk, and I'm going to take a new trail. I've never been on this walk before, but it's going to go along parallel to the Toongabbie Creek. It's called the Settlers Walk, and as I said, it's a new walk, and it's down here at Oaks Road, just adjacent to the Baxter facility here at Winston Hills. And as I said, it's called the Settlers Walk, and don't know what to expect, but what we'll do is we'll do a walk and talk, and I'll take you through a book summary as I normally do. And today's book summary is entitled Do What Is Right Because It Is Right, and it's written by an author named Marc Benioff. Marc Benioff, who's the founder of Salesforce.com, a very, very successful enterprise. So it's afternoon, it's not morning. It's in lockdown at the moment, so I can't venture more than 5 kilometres outside my my LGA. So let's just keep on walking and see where this leads us. So I think I'm going in the right direction, so I'll just keep on walking until I find an entry to the track and see what we can learn along the way. So according to Marc Benioff, the founder of Salesforce.com, he says that the goal is to execute an idea in as many different ways as you can in order to achieve the outcome that you desire. And it's all about good strategy. But he makes a very, very wonderful point, a real profound point, that there is a huge difference, a massive difference between a millionaire and a billionaire. And I've never quite thought of it like this. Just like there is a huge difference between a $1 million company and a $1 billion company. And the best way to explain this, according to the author, is that he just gives a simple sort of analogy, a simple metaphor. And he said, if we just look at time, for example, 1 million seconds amounts to a period of about 12 days. So over the past 12 days, 1 million seconds have passed. Doesn't seem like a lot, does it? And then he goes on to say, and to put things into perspective, that if we look at 1 billion seconds, 1 billion seconds amounts to 32 years. And hence, the difference between 1 million and 1 billion is shown by that simple sort of exercise, that 1 million seconds amounts to 12 days, whereas 1 billion seconds amounts to a much bigger period, a period of 32 years. So I'm just at the banks here of the river, here at the Toongabbie Creek, or Toongabbie, I guess it's called the Toongabbie Creek here, and it's quite deep here. And I can see that there was some sort of crossover from the other side to here from days gone old. And I'd imagine that people would have come down here to swim, to fish, and to pass their time. And quite interesting. This would have been quite a historical sort of place years ago. I don't live too far away from here. I just live at the top of the hill here at Winston Hills, and across the road from me is an old farmhouse, and that farmhouse, I guess, would have been here for many years. But it just goes to show that each area, each suburb in Sydney has its interesting sort of aspects to it, and we're all encouraged, I guess, to discover our suburbs. And one of the advantages for me during lockdown, during the period of COVID-19, I've gotten the opportunity to look around and discover things that I never knew existed, and I've lived in this area for 40 years. So there you go. There are some benefits of being forced to stay in your own LGA because you get to discover a little bit more about the place you live and the benefits of that place. So as you can see, the creek here is quite wide, which is interesting. It's lush, it's green. Of course, it's been raining for the past year and a half, and you'd expect it to be green. But let's go back and focus on this book here. So we've been given a positioning by the author in terms of understanding the difference between a million and a billion, and it's quite big and quite significant. So as we said here, the author set up Salesforce.com, which is a cloud-based software and services company. And he did it back in the days. For those of us who've been around, and I spent many years in the IT&T industry. I spent 23 years working for some of the best technological companies in the world. I worked for NCR, IBM, Telstra, Optus, and a subsidiary of Lendlease, Telstra and IBM called Advantra, which was an outsourcing company. And I worked during those heady days of around about the year 2000, where the dot-com boom had occurred, and companies were increasing in value, hand over fist, day after night, so to speak. But there came a crunch, and a lot of organisations were rendered useless at that point in time. So the whole IT industry was decimated or impacted severely. I remember working, as I said, for a number of IT companies back then, and a lot of companies fell by the wayside. But the interesting thing is that there were some companies who survived, and not only survived, but also thrived. And Salesforce.com was one of those companies. Because it actually started back in 1999. So during the depths of the dot-com boom and bust, Salesforce.com kicked off. But what it did was it was able to take advantage of the change in circumstances and deliver a product and a service that was much needed at that point in time. Here we go, we've got some ducks over here. We've got mother duck, father duck, and 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. There's at least a dozen ducklings. So let's just spend a little bit of time here. I enjoy being one with nature. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's 9 ducklings in this little brood. I think you call them a brood. and they all look very, very healthy and well. So the key messages to come out of this text from this author is that the first thing one needs to focus on, and I touched on a lot of this yesterday when I went through another book called In Search of Excellence from Tom Peters. I touched on this yesterday, as I said, in another book, and the author here talks about the importance of focusing on marketing and on the end user of the product, even if it's business to business. So the focus from yesterday's book was focusing on the customer and the employee. The best companies in the world focus on those two. And what this author here says, Marc Benioff, says that it's important to focus on your marketing and on your end users. So once again, focusing on your customers. And in order to become a billion-dollar company, you need people to be constantly talking about you and talking about your product and your service. So what Salesforce.com did in order to garner that respect and that marketing hype was it focused on editorials and testimonials. And it held lots of public events which it pumped lots of money into, and invited end users of products to come and just to play and just to toy with the products and services. As you can see, what happened is that there's a family coming with a dog, and straight away the ducks and the ducklings went straight to water. So I guess they realised the danger of having a pet in this area from past experience. So once again, let's continue our discussion here on this wonderful book. The author here of Salesforce.com, they really got into the hearts and minds of the end users, and what they did was they understood the value of getting the end users to be part of your demos, and they invited, as I said, users to come along to demo products, to be part of the keynote sort of addresses to other users, and to celebrate the customer as being the centre of their universe. So that's the first key point to come out of this book, and it all makes sense, because at the end of the day, if you make your customers look good, if you do things which are exciting for them, and and when you're dealing with IT boffins, then they don't get very much face-to-face contact with other people, but they do certainly enjoy coming together within a community and enjoying and celebrating and playing and being made to feel important. And this is what Salesforce.com tapped into and made the most of. So the next point that comes out of this book is along the same vein. It's a very similar vein to what was discussed before. And he said that it's important to always do what's best for the customer, even if it scares you and even if it may hurt your business. So once again, keeping your customers and your end users front of mind, top of purpose, and you do whatever you do for them and to make the most for them. And as we learnt yesterday again from this other book, In Search of Excellence, most of the best product ideas, most of the best innovations come from customers, come from end users, where you work with them, understand what they want, why they want it, and then you slowly integrate it incrementally into your product and service. And you just can't go wrong if you follow that path. Unlike many other organisations which fall by the wayside because all they do is just try and make their numbers, make their sales without having the end user as the key, I guess, purpose behind everything that they do. So even if it scares you, he says, do things which are right for the customer, even if it scares you, or even if it appears to be a threat to your business, or may even hurt your business. Because if you're doing the right thing, then eventually you're going to be able to reap the fruits of your investment. So what they also do is that they make sure that when they bring an innovation into their product, they make it available to all clients simultaneously. So what they do is they improve the experience for all their clients, not just the clients who are happy to pay for an upgrade. They just make it available to everybody so that people get to trust them, get to love them, and get to want to be part of that growth path, that development path, and use and be part of that experience. The last formal point to come out of this book is where the author talks about when going global, remember to respect the context of other cultures, because I guess what we all learn, especially in a multicultural society or a multicultural family, that one size doesn't fit all. And what we've learned over the years is that you can't treat all customers the same. You can't treat everybody in a similar sort of fashion for fear of offending some people with the content or the style that you incorporate into your products. So what they did was that they set up, and they were very, very clever about doing this, and a lot of people will relate to what I'm about to say. They set up help desks in German for Germans. So the help desks that they set up, they set it up with Germans to appeal and to service Germans, because each culture, as we know, has intricacies, has nuances that not everybody understands. A lot of us over the past decade or two have had the challenges of dealing with call centres that have been set up in other countries. You know, maybe 20 years ago that all the call centres in Australia were set up in Australia to service Australian customers. But what happened with time, organisations decided to outsource that function to other countries such as India, where the workers spoke English, but they didn't necessarily understand the nuance of the Australian customer. And in that way, it was very, very frustrating to be dealing with somebody at the other end of the line who knew exactly what you were saying, but couldn't understand what you were saying because of the different ways of thinking, different ways of expressing things, which is unique to each and every country. So it's important, according to the author here, to set up facilities, to set up support structures to be able to give the best possible support to your customers so that you enhance the experience and the relationship without trying to cut corners, trying to cut costs and spoiling it for everybody. And I guess that's where we leave it. That's the last key point to come out of this book. And once again, a wonderful book. And I really like the title, Do What Is Right Because It Is Right. And if we all follow that sort of principle in our careers, in our family lives, in our health pursuits, and in everything we do, then you don't have to worry about what the outcomes or the first, second and third level consequences are, because you've got a clean conscience. You're doing the right thing that you think is right, that you've been brought up with, that is right, something that aligns to your goals, to your values, and to what you're trying to achieve. And at the end of the day, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But you don't feel guilty. You don't feel bad about it. Anyway, thank you very much once again for joining me on this afternoon episode of Jim's 5am Club, where you can vicariously enjoy this little bushwalk that I'm going on. It's a little bit different, not quite what I expected, but it's something new for me and for you. Take care, and we'll chat again, where we'll go through another opportunity to grow and develop and to be partners in each other's growth and development. Take care, and bye for now.